the story has more of that. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, because you've experienced that. And other people might have some similar experience. So they can relate to it. So they might think, oh yeah, I had that similar experience before. So it's not some high concept. For example, perseverance is very important because if you just give up, you can't reach your goal, right? That's a concept and everybody actually understands it, but do you really feel it? Maybe you need to try hard to get your own experience to relate to that. But if we talk about stories, we are surmounting the feeling or some memories deep down. So that's the first difference between telling a theory and a story. Right. So we need to tell stories. So when we are composing our speech scripts, we sometimes need stories. Right. So here comes to the second part. We now know that stories actually work better sometimes than theories, and we are actually born to be storytellers because we all have our stories. Yeah, but sometimes we don't know how to tell it. Sometimes it comes natural sometimes because you feel deeply with some topics, right? So now, how do you get your story and make them your speeches? Okay? So here's a simple tip from an author called Huang, an American author. He suggested that we start from nouns. Okay, nouns. It's a theory, so I want to show you the difference. May I invite your VPE, Ching? Yeah, it's not planned, so please give him a round of applause. Okay, nouns, right? So let's start from something different from nouns. Okay, so Ching, can you share with us the most memorable thing that happened in your military life?
Okay. I think it's line up. And you know, when you serve in the military, you just in the first day of my military service, I began to experience the most inefficient way of doing things. Every day I keep lining up, just before the meal, I wait in line to pick up dishes. After the meal, I wait in line to wash the dishes. Even at night, I still wait in line to take a shower. So every day is lining up. That's the most memorable thing.
All right. So that's a good story, right? All right, that's good. Thank you. And also, please say, right. Now, where did you serve your military service?
In Hsinchu.
So, I believe there are a lot of things happen in Hsinchu to you, right? So, what's your memory to Hsinchu? Or what's the most memorable things that you have from Hsinchu? Can you share with us some stories? When we talk about Hsinchu, what do you think of?
You know, you cannot experience very differently in when you serve in the military, because every day you stay in the army. So even though you stay in the Hsinchu, we didn't have meat in our everyday meal. So, my experience in Hsinchu is that I don't think it had a huge difference compared with other areas if I had a military.
Okay, all right, that's good. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you, King. The first one was, I asked him about his military life, and he shared a wonderful story about lining up. And the second one, I talked about Hsinchu. I asked him about location, and then he talked about Hsinchu. But he still goes back to his military experience because that's the memories that he gets from the place, right? So actually both, I mean, we can't really see a very sharp contrast from Ching's example because it's both stories and he's used to telling stories maybe, so it's a good example for us to learn from. Yeah, but for us who are not so used to telling stories, for example, if I ask you to introduce Taipei, the city we're in? Do you choose to tell story, or you just say, oh, we have the used to be tallest building in the world, Taipei 101, and we have Longshan Temple and Hot Spring in Beito where you can visit, and National Palace Museum. So these are places and facts or information you can share with people. But there's no personal touch in these facts. So what you can do very simply to make them vivid is to add your story to these places. So you see, I'm using a place and then extend to personal experience and stories. So you're making these places meaningful. It's actually not that hard, right? So that's a tip that I want to give you when you are developing your speech and you're running out of ideas. You can start with places and nouns. Yeah, because usually when we think about our scripts, we think, oh, we need a good story, and I need a very special one, but you don't really have an idea because you think, oh, I have an ordinary life. So I don't know, I have nothing to share, right? You're running out of ideas. You're making yourself into the corner. We don't want that. You just think of the places you've lived. That's one example. Taipei, Hsinchu, Kaohsiung, some other countries, New York, I know Florida is not a city, it's a state, right? Nobody's laughing. I was trying to tell a joke. Well, so, thank you, Ivy, I love you. Yeah, so you start from some places, and you have your memory and your stories to it, and you can share. And then you decide which one to stay in your script, because that's more important, and what's less important, you just leave it out. So it's a tip for you to have a script about stories. Right. Another thing is to have your firsts. Right, firsts. For example, the first time you kiss somebody, or the first time you were kissed. Maybe it's the same thing, maybe it's not. So yeah, the first, or the first time you, I don't know, I don't want to be inappropriate. So the first time, you can do a lot of things for the first time. Yeah, so you share with people the first time, because it was maybe, or presumably, the most memorable thing. Yeah, because the first happened for the first time is the freshest in your memory. So key takeaways: stories are powerful and are effective. And we are good at storytelling. Actually, we're born to be storytellers. And second, you can start with nouns or places you live. And finally, your firsts. Your first. You can share with people these experiences in your speeches. Especially today, we're going to have some C1 speakers. They're going to share with us many firsts in their life. And it's our first time to listen to them too. And I hope you enjoy storytelling and just boost up your storytelling power. Let me turn the control back to Joey.